All right, welcome to the Rome Show. We got a special guest on here. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. You already know it's Scar City in the building, owner and founder of Scar City Music Group, and I'm blessed to be here, brother. I appreciate you reaching out.
Definitely, man. I love what you're doing, helping people out. Doing a
Yes,
lot for
sir.
yourself.
Yeah, man. It's about helping others and taking that knowledge and being able to share that knowledge with other people. Because there's a lot of people that don't assume that people know just because we got things like Google and Chat GPT. Don't assume that everybody's using those tools. Don't assume that everybody knows about things like the automated AI. Not everybody knows that. So we got to be here to help those that want to be helped.
Right, and you've been in the game for a while. When did you first start? Like, what made you want to start everything?
Damn, man, you're going now you're gonna show the people my age. So when I first started out, I started as an artist, and I professionally started in 1994, and that was as an artist. I was rapping in New York City, East Harlem, New York, and I was part of a group called ESP. We used to be the East Side Platoon, and then the name changed to Elite Soldier Platoon. And yeah, man, those brothers really helped me. You know what I'm saying? I was very young, and those brothers like helped me get my foot into the game, doing shows, all that kind of stuff, like learning what the concept of like what the studio is. And back then, we did everything ourselves. Like we did the mixes, the master, all of that. So it was an exciting process. And then people used to always say, "Yo, you nice, you nice, you nice." I was always a conscious rapper. You know what I mean? From the '90s, I grew up listening to like Wu Tang and those groups that were very conscious, Cannabis and those people. And I was just like, yo, the Roots and those other people. So I was just like, yo, you know what? I stepped out of the group, and I mean, I was that's still always, what I'm saying, gang right there. That's family, East Side. But I was like, I'm gonna do my own thing, and I started doing my own thing, and that's how I formulated Scar City. And then some of my other brothers that I grew up with still around that same time, we started a group called Seven Set. And that's basically, the seven is indicative of us being part of the 5% nation of God's on earth, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
and we were just rapping about certain things in the lessons and things in life in general. And so there you have like kind of the birth of Scarcity as a conscious, but conscious yet unconscious rap at the same time, right? And and then, as I went through different phases of my career, it's not easy being an artist, especially in somewhere like New York City, where there's a bunch of different artists. If you don't have the finance and the backing, it's just going to be hard to do it. I love what I do as far as the artist portion of my career. I just feel like I'm way more effective as being in management, not necessarily a manager per se, but being in management because I could call the shots, right? I came up in corporate too, so I understand how businesses are developed, right? It starts out with the board and the CTO and the CFO and the CEO and basically all of those different fields. So I understand how the infrastructure is built in a business. So I said, let me just do the same thing with the music, and I started helping out. One of the artists from Seven Set named Nazai. Back then, he went by Narain. You could look him up. You know what I mean? We got him. We walked through the doors of Universal, didn't make the deal happen, but we got him some fantastic thing. He has amazing features with like people like Busta Rhymes. You know what I'm saying? We got joints with Styles P. We had all kind of drops from like Remy Ma and Fat Joe and just a bunch of people that we had him access to. We was at Summer Jam. We've got to chop it up with Nas and a lot of other artists. So that when I saw that, okay, wow, from this vantage point, I can still jump on a song and do my thing, but I'm more effective because I could really look at the chessboard and say, okay, I want to help this person get from here to here. Before that, we were just just winging it. We were just like whatever somebody said. If they told us you need to print out flyers, we printed out flyers. If they said need to go to digital streaming, we did whatever people were saying. That's what everybody did, right? It's like we
Mhm.
woke up wearing Nikes. Like, why are you wearing Nikes? Because your mothers and father put Nikes on or Timberlands on when you were a child. We didn't really question like, is the quality of this really better than this other shoe that doesn't have as big of a brand? We just do it. So that's how we were doing it as artists. But as artist manager, I read a lot of books on the music industry, right? The one in particular that stands out is obviously, everything you need to know about the music industry, right? By Don Passman. Once I read that book, I read I think it was the third edition. Now they're on the 11th edition, and I have that one as well.
Mm.
So when I read that book, and he started talking about, he's Michael Jackson's previous lawyer, and once he started saying like, oh, you need to have NDA for this, and you need to have a split sheet, and you need to make sure you have the master recording, and you need to register with copyright.gov. And once I started learning the business, I'm like, damn, we weren't doing any of that. You know what I mean? We were just getting on the song, rapping, trying to out rap each other. We were in the cipher, and we just try to out rap each other. And then I was like, wait a minute, I think we're doing this wrong. We never did contracts. We went by that rule that, oh yeah, 3 to 5 seconds on a sample. You could use a 3 to 5 second on a sample. That's incorrect. You cannot sample without clearance. And to get a proper clearance, there's two contracts that you need to have signed. You need permission in 2 ways, right? So we never did that. We just went with the flow. And so, even if we would have come out back then, it would have been tough because we didn't have our paperwork right. And then people wonder why you get stuck into deals, and you get pigeonholed. And that is simply because you don't have your business intact, right? So fast forward to today, I have the Scarcity Music Group. I started that in 2023, and that started by myself, and my wife Nene V, who's also an artist. She's a singer and songwriter. And we started that, and we're doing everything the right way. It takes more time doing it like this, but we're doing everything the right way, right? You got the LLC, you got your EIN number, you got your bank account, you're building credit for the business, you're networking with other businesses, doing brand deals, sharpening the brand. You see, we got the logo for SMG, Scarcity Music Group, official logo, trademark, all this kind of stuff, right? That's the way we're doing it now. So it takes longer like that, but it's when you do it the right way, you can reap the benefits and control the narrative or what you're trying to do, brother.
Right. Super fire story, man.
Yes, sir.
So during those transitions, like through the different phases, when you were told no, when a deal didn't happen, what were some things that you were doing to keep yourself going?
So we were always doing shows. We were making money from shows. I think that was to our disadvantage probably, because it's kind of like when somebody does a crime and then they get away with it, you start feeling invincible. So you're like, yo, I could get away with this. Oh, yo, let's do it. It's like the movie. What was the movie where Queen Latifah Set It Off?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the movie Set It Off? They were robbing banks, and they were good. And then they got greedy. You know what I'm saying? And once they got greedy, they got caught up in the situation. They got caught in the matrix. So I feel like, going back to your question, we were doing tours. We were doing college tours. I'm talking about back in like 2010. We were doing college tours, I look back now and I'm like, damn, that was 15 years ago. We were doing what all these people are trying to do now with the showcases and the content. We weren't even calling it that back then. We were just doing it. I always had a camera in my hand. So I was always filming something or recording something, because I know that you got to capture time. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, dealing with the mind, we want to be able to capture things, because once that memory is gone, it just only exists in your brain or in your mind. I wanted to be able to showcase that memory that we were going through. So yeah, we would do tours. We would go on these college tours, and the college kids loved us, man. We would go up there and we'd be building, and some of the raps, you hear it today, it's still relevant. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the joints, I was like, on one of the songs, my boy Nazai, my brother rather, he did a song called The Realest Poem I Ever Wrote. And it's still out there. You could go check it out, but it's under his first artist thing, which is Narain. And on that song, I was like, there's a definite prerequisition to receive this benediction. Underwater terrorists beneath the surface, search for this lyricist. Anti-diabolical, leave no witnesses, moving too diligent. I affiliate with the innocent. I was rapping like that back then. You know what I mean? And so we were all on that conscious wave because we kind of came from that. So I was rapping like that back then. And the college kids, they're in college, so they're hearing it in the textbook. They're like, I know what that means. I just came from science class. You know what I mean? So it was like a wonderful experience for us, but we were actually able to monetize because they were paying us to come to these different colleges in different states. And then doing shows. We were doing a lot of shows in New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, like Florida, Atlanta, Georgia. Like we used to go crazy on these shows. So when you really think about it, we were doing well. We just didn't have real direction, And so
Right.
that's what I would do in the interim. We would do that, and then obviously being in the studio. I don't want to say distract you, but it'll keep the artist going. Because when you're in the studio, it feels like a dreamland, right? It's like a playground for a kid, for an artist. So, as an artist, you feel amazing when you're in the studio. You're like, yo, it's limitless. I could do any type of beats. You got the producer, he's just throwing random beats at you. You like, yo, somebody got that beat? Nah, that joint is open. It's just sitting on my hard drive. You're like, what? Yo, this is crazy. Like, yo, how much for this? And it's just like, so that I think was a distraction for us too, because we were so focused on the creative part that we didn't really look at the business. And I think the business is the part that is going to keep you around, right? And it's going to be help you sustain your career. So, yeah.
Right. So basically, just keep yourself busy.
Keep yourself busy. I think the difference between then and now is that now we have things like, the internet and social media, where you could, right now, if an artist is not working on a project, you can use some of the content from a previous project, right? That's what we have the ability to do. We couldn't do that back then. Back then it was just like, yo, you in the studio or not. You're doing a performance or not. Now you can take the content, and you got, layers of content, right? You could take 30, 15-second clip, and then, the 30-second part of it, you could use it on another platform like YouTube, where they look at long, form content. And then, the short form content platforms like the Instagram. Instagram is all about instant gratification. That's why it's called Insta. You know what I'm saying? Instagram. So it's like a quick bop, 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 bop. It was meant for short content, like 30 seconds or lower. And then even TikTok, right? TikTok is even shorter than that. Kids get bored after, like, okay, more than 10 seconds. Well, what is this? Oh God, you want more than 10 seconds of my time? So they just want to see something real quick in 10 seconds. And it's the same thing with a song, right? When a song comes on, in the first 5 to 7 seconds, if a person know, if they just hear the beat playing, they may skip to the next song, because there's an influx of songs. There's so many songs that it's like, why would I sit here and listen to you talk your crap for 15 seconds, and then you don't start rapping until 20 seconds into the song? So, it's all about, that instant gratification. And that's what today is that's unfortunate, because it affects the quality of the music, because it's so instant. You know what I mean?
Right.
What else
Good
you
one,
want to know,
bro.
brother?
Um, doing go through those transitions and then get to where you are now. Um, you know, different roles, the podcast. How do you balance everything?
That's a great question, man. Um, it's really difficult to balance out, the podcast. Shout out to the All Emotion podcast. Um, it's very difficult to balance things like that, things like other partnerships that I have, and then the music, and then artists. I have some great artists that I'm working with right now that are on the Scarcity Music Group, and we are an artist management company. I'm not a record label, right? We use the term label and artist management interchangeably, but the reality is that I'm not a record label. Um, we are artist development, artist management, right? That's what my focus is, to help the artists to grow, to be better than what they were yesterday. That's my goal. It's not about taking a song and then just putting a song out. I mean, we could do that. That's cool, but how have you grown, right? How have you grown, right? So I'm for the this artist that's starting out, or the artist that's mid tier, right? At some point, I would develop something to where we're dealing with artists that are like A-listers and B-listers. But right now, you know, we're not focused on like an artist that's, already on the radio and that has, 10 million streams, because they already kind of are doing it themselves, right? I'm in the middle tier more so, and helping artists out to where, okay, do you have an EPK, right? You have electronic press kit. Do you have a bio for yourself? Do you have any press? Like, what have you done? What is your budget? Like, all those types of things. I make them think about those things, right? Even your sound. Okay, you sound good. What producers are you working with? Okay, that producer's good. But just because this producer is a Grammy-winning producer, or is multi-platinum, doesn't necessarily mean that producer is going to match this artist's sound, right? I'm very
Right.
big on that. Try out different producers until you find somebody that works with your sound. That's very important. So back to your question, the way I balance it out is it's long nights and long days. I'm I do a lot. I'm also have my own business in cybersecurity. So I work in information technology as well. That's a big part of my background. So it's a lot to be able to manage that during the day and then during the evening times to focus on the artist. And basically it's consistency. That's how I balance it out. I'm consistent on the weekends. That's when I do like shows and even interviews like this. I typically do that on the weekends. You know what I mean? Because the weekdays, 24 hours of the day is not really that much time to do all of this stuff. It's just a lot, and I work smarter, not harder, man. If I could automate something, I'll automate it. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's on Instagram, I'll automate the stories, or giving people jewels out there, right? Automate the stories, automate some of your processes. If there's anything that you can do to automate your music or the process in which you notify people about music or the distribution of your music, do that. Automate it, because that's one less thing you have to worry about. You test it out, and then you automate it, and then you move on to the next thing. It gives you more time to work on other things. So that's a big way of how I manage my time. But yeah, it's insane, man. There's no real good answer to that, man. You just got to be a beast with this. You got to go hard, and you got to really stay focused on what you're doing and build a team, right? If you have people around you that's cool, that will maybe y'all work out a deal and say, yo, I'll give you 30% of the company, or you know what I'm saying, whatever, 40% or whatever you're doing, give you some equity to help me out, because I can't do all of this work by myself, you know.
Right.
I do
Super
have a
fire.
team behind me, so I'll shout out to the team, the whole Scarcity Music Group, the actual team that helps me with the post, my assistant. I got two executive assistants, so they all help out. You know what I mean? And it's a team effort. You can't do it by yourself.
Right. Shout out to your team. It's a blessing to have a team too to actually do the work.
Absolutely, man. It's all about developing the team and building the chemistry, right? That team building. We actually have we talked about that on the podcast, on the All Emotion podcast. The building an organic team and teamwork. People could go and check out the All Emotion podcast, allemotionpodcast.com. Got to plug them, and so that's the thing, is having a team, developing the team, right? And then I spend a lot of time with a lot of music attorneys. You know what I mean? That's a big thing too. So I know what to look for and what to watch for. Just certain like nuances, like certain things, like okay, which DSP is the best for you, because not every DSP is good for you. There are some where the terms and conditions are not so great, right? So, by being tapped in with Scarcity Music Group, these are the types of things I talk about. I give the game away. I'm not like, oh, you want this information, I need, send me this money. And no, we don't do that. We give the jewels up, because it's like, yo, that energy is just gonna come right back to me anyway. And by the time you learning that, I'm on to 10 new things. So I'm not
Mm.
afraid to give away the knowledge, because at the end of the day, knowledge shouldn't really cost. It bugged me out when it's like, oh, you go to college and then they charge you all this money for college. It's like, why are y'all doing that to people? You know what I mean? And a lot of times when I show love to people, it comes back to me in one form or another. You know what I'm saying? That's divine. That's the universe blessing me. You know what I mean? So for sure, man.
Super fire.
What other questions you
Um,
got? Those are easy, man. Give me a hard one, man.
so how'd you work with like Rock Nation Distribution and Empire?
So the whole thing with Empire was through a friend of mine, and that's basically just the distribution. They're not distribution deals. Like I said, there's a friend. I know two people that have distribution deals right through Rock Nation. But what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to do my own thing, to where I give people distribution deals. And so, I'm developing that. I'm working on the budget to do that, because obviously you got to have the capital to be able to do that. Now, as far as like the Rock Nation, is very interesting, because with Rock Nation, they reached out to me. I never reached out to them, and that's what's so interesting, that I was like, I thought I was bugging out when I first saw it, because I was like, wait a minute, they reached out to me, and I was like, and it was like, oh, X, Y, and Z information, and then just apply here, and you could be part of the distribution. And I thought that was interesting, because first of all, I didn't even know when I've been um, dealing with Rock Nation distribution for a while, and it's so funny because I didn't even know, this was before anybody knew that they were doing the distribution. So I was like, wow, this is crazy. And and so the beauty of that is like, whenever there's an issue with like the Rock Nation stuff, they get right back to you. It's not like DistroKid where like DistroKid, you know, you're not dealing with a person. You know what I'm saying? It's all automated. And I get it. All of the companies now, they wanna be automated because it's, you know, it saves money and stuff like that. But whenever there's an issue with anything or any of the files or anything with Rock Nation for any of the artists I'm dealing with, it's like almost instantaneous that I get a response. So definitely big shout out to Rock Nation, you know what I'm saying, the EQ, everything that they're doing over there. Also, I want to give a shout out to you know, Kevin Shine. He's a brother that's the owner of WSA Writing Sessions America, and I've been doing a lot of work with them. Just basically, you know, in terms of like jumping on their calls and listening to their music, sharing some of the music from my artists with them. And you know, he's a good brother. You know, he's somebody I look up to in the industry. He's been in the industry for a long time, longer than me, and I appreciate that brother. And we just had a call, and we just he introduced us to gentleman that's a producer. He's a 5-time Grammy Award winning producer, and you know he's like he's been very instrumental in like work. He works for like Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to the brother Kevin Shine, man, for being there, and kind of giving us the guidance on like a lot of like the sync licensing and all that good stuff. So I'm looking to do more things with the brother. We actually have something going on tonight at 8 p.m. and it's open to the public. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. This is an invite only one. But he does do the open to the public to where people could submit their songs individually. So yeah, if people tap into my page on Instagram at Team Scarcity One or at Scarcity Music Group on Instagram, I usually put the flyers up, the dates that he's gonna do it. So you know, he helps with the writing, and he helps people get placements for like sync licensing and sync deals. So you know, I'm very grateful to have that brother. You know, somebody I could talk to, and you know, we build with each other. You know what I'm saying? Still sharp and still. So no, I appreciate that relationship. You know what I mean?
Super fire. Legendary, bro.
Yeah. And big up to you too, you know what I'm saying, for reaching out, you know what I'm saying? Like once you put this up, I hope you promote it. That's one thing about me, why when people mess with me, I show love. You know what I'm saying? Like when people tap in with me, I show love because I'll come to your city and we'll do a show together. You have your artist, I'll be there. I hope to promote it. Cause it's like we just want the artists to win, especially the you know, the underground artists. And actually now that I'm saying underground artists, you know what I'm saying? I got to give a big shout out to my brother CEO Greg. You know what I'm saying? That brother, he works with the Hot Boys, Chopper City. So you know, obviously the Hot Boys. You know what I'm saying? The whole Hot Boys and BG. You know what I'm saying? He's been helping BG out a lot on the promotion side. So yo, big shout out. You know what I'm saying, to my boy CEO Greg. Y'all could tap in with him too. He also has a page called Hits on Fire. I don't know if you ever heard of that one, but he got it's a pretty big Instagram page, and he gives a lot of information on what artists should be doing and should not be doing. You know, big shout out to CEO Greg, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Super fire.
Or
One more. I got one more question, bro.
yes, sir.
All these great things that you're doing. What's one thing that you haven't done yet that you want to do with your brand?
You know what's so crazy that you say that? And while I'm giving shout outs, I definitely have to give a big shout out. And I'll afterwards I'll tell you some of the artists I'm working with right now. We about to put out an amazing project. But I want to give a big shout out, you know what I'm saying, to all the folks that, you know, have been helping Scarcity Music Group. It's been a lot of companies, and it's like it's to the point where it's like so many that it's kind of like, damn, I don't want to miss nobody, but I will be remiss if I didn't mention my brother Smooth X, director Smooth X. And you know, we just finished doing the BYN Spotlight Awards, and the Spotlight Awards, we did them in New York. It's gonna be amazing. You know what I'm saying? If anybody want to check that out, it's called the BU Network. The BU Network on Instagram and the BU Network on YouTube. Tap in with that. We're doing a competition right now with 10 artists from all over, and the artists are all fire. So it's like you have to vote for the artists. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm the title sponsor for that. So you know, like I said, big shout out to the BU Network. Everything they doing. My boy, my dad TV, and director Smooth X, and everybody else that's doing it. So Rich, all of them, everybody doing it, man. It's a lot of a lot of good brothers that he put together, and I love the professionalism of what he's doing with that. And that basically is like a competition. Is like he's basically, marketing himself as the new BET, and that competition is kind of like it gives a feel of like, like those old award shows. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, you get almost like an X Factor, American Idol type of thing, but more like urban and great quality and content. So yeah, go check out BU Network. And yeah, man, I give a big shout out to that brother, Smooth X, man. Salute to him too. So one of the things that I want to do that I haven't done is more of a joint venture. I've done a lot of sponsorships and I've done a lot of joint projects, but I'm looking to do a joint venture with somebody in the music, right? Like whether that be Rock Nation, whether it be Atlantic, whether it be, any of those companies or Universal Music Group, right? Like I'm looking to do a joint venture in the same area that I'm in. So, obviously they would have to have, you know, be a name that's bigger than mine. I'm looking for that, right? And we have the staff now to where we could even help some of their artists out, because sometimes we're like the middle ground, right? You got like artists that they're associated with a big label, but they're not really ready for the big label. That's why a lot of artists they don't succeed, because they're not really ready for that star level. Like you got to be on this like 24/7 when you're doing it. It's not like you don't have a time to just take a nap and rest. No, you got to keep the heat coming. You got to stay in the studio. You have to keep the content. You have to keep your pen crazy. Your pen has to stay sharp, right? Especially if you're dealing with hip hop, you're dealing with rap, you got to keep your pen sharp. If you're a writer and you sing, you do pop, EDM, whatever, you have to keep that pen working. You know what I mean? So that's what we do. We have the ability to do that. I also do training programs to where I help artists to perform, where we have them jumping on trampolines, we have them running with sandbags on their legs, rapping, running around the on the treadmill, or running around the track, rapping the song. I used to do that with my artists. We would have them run around, and they're running around with the microphone like this, right? And we'll have the Bluetooth speaker, and they hear themselves, so they rap it, so they got that adrenaline flowing, and they're running around the treadmill. Have you ever seen a manager or artist management company have their artists, like 3 or 4 or 5 artists, on a track outside, running around with the speaker playing their music? Like that's the type of stuff. That's the type of stuff I was doing, because when people get on the stage and they're out of breath, they're not doing it like Busta Rhymes. You know what I'm saying? You know how Busta Rhymes be like all of that, and like how Big Pun used to be like dead in the middle, a little. Like I want artists to be able to do that and maintain breath control and maintain their delivery while still maintaining contact with the audience and smiling for them and rapping for them. And if it's a song to, let's just say you talking to the ladies, on some LL, and you talking to the ladies and you got their attention. That's how you develop star quality. That's how you develop, the A-list, a superstar. And that's what I'm looking to do, is develop people to the level to where they could become superstars. So this is new. It's a new company. It's only been around. It's been around less than 2 years. So, I got a lot of the business stuff done. Now it's time to really focus on taking these artists to the next level. So with that said, I want to say shout out to the Wells, shout out to Demi, you know,
Looks like I got a phone call. Hold on. There we go.
Okay, pardon yourself, brother. My apologies. That was a phone call coming in. I put the do not disturb on. I don't know how that person got through, but anyway, I wanted to say big shout out to the Wells, shout out to Demi, shout out to Shy. What we're doing now is we're coming out with some songs. I'm not gonna say the name of the songs yet, but watch out for the Wells coming out on Scarcity Music Group. They rap, they sing, they do all kind of stuff, right? Very fire. These brothers are amazing. Definitely shout out to Ice the Artist. Everybody knows Ice the Artist and Truly Desi. Those are my 2 main artists that's from New York City. Shout out to Nene V, obviously. That's which is my wife. So she's with the fam and she's doing her thing. She got some amazing music coming out. And then shout out to my other artist, Zarina, out of Tampa, Florida. So yeah, we got a lot more too. A lot of other artists. My brother Dark Life, he's about to drop an album on the Scarcity Music Group. Watch out for Dark Life. He's a beast on the mic. You know what I'm saying? Um, um, no funny, no funny, but yeah, watch out for those people, and there's more to come, man. Some amazing things. So, you know what I'm saying? As we close out, anything else you want to ask me, brother?
Or some advice you could give to motivate and inspire to keep going, to keep chasing that dream.
You said, say that again. You said what was motivating me?
What's some motivation? What's some inspiration you could give to have the next person to keep going? Just keep going.
I'm gonna hit him with this, man. When you know, count your blessings. The little things that a person does for you could take you to the next level. And I'm gonna give you an example of that. If I take your story and I share your story, I got over 50,000 followers. Go and look at the people following Scar City. It's not just like every day. I mean, we got Saigon, we got Lord Jamal, we got a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, that's following me from the Atlanta scene.
Hold on one more time. Phone call came in. There we go.
That's the thing about StreamYard, man. We gotta be able to edit this stuff out, man. People keep calling me now all of a sudden, man. I don't even know how to get through, but anyway, yeah. So let me just say that again, brother. So one of the things I think artists should really pay attention to is when somebody supports you, don't take that for granted. I could take your story, and not just me, other people, right? Other people are gonna look. Because you can't see who's looking at your story when I share, but I can see it. And a lot of times I share people's story, and random people that don't even follow me sometimes, they'll look at their story. You know, sometimes labels look at what I put up because I'm dealing with people that's dealing with labels. You know, so I dropped the Lost Files, which is a mixtape that was produced by Scarcity Music Group with a host of different artists. And a lot of people are interested in a lot of the people on that mixtape. It's 10 songs. So, you know, a bunch of artists on there. So, yeah, the inspiration is that don't underestimate what somebody could do for you from something so simple like sharing your story, or, you know what I mean, forwarding your post or sharing your reel. Like that could go a long way. You know, like I'm connected to some people in LA that if I share your stuff to them, you never know. Your song they might end up giving you a call. It might be a label that give you a call. So just don't underestimate the power of networking and tapping in with people like myself. It's not gonna cost you nothing. It's not one of those. This is not a like, oh, you got to pay $500 to get into the, you know, to be on my Instagram. Or nah, like people follow me. Generally speaking, I follow them back. The only time I won't follow somebody back is if like they have zero posts. I don't care if you can have no friends, but you got to have some posts. You got to show me there's some kind of activity because I need to have a reason. I don't want to just have people follow. I'm following a bunch of people and they're not putting anything up. So, you know, stay focused. There is money in the music, you know, and you can use you can use the music to help you get to your brand, to help you get to your merch, and whatever it is, the goal that you're trying to get to. You can use it in ways now that you could never use it before. Like even this interview right here, right? You could take this interview and you could chop it into multiple clips, and right, like there's so much you can do with it. You can put it on TikTok, put it on YouTube. You know, we got the remember I'm in technology, so we also have things like social audio apps. So you got Clubhouse, you got Fanbase, you got Twitch, you got, you know, X, Spaces, formerly known as Twitter. You got so many different outlets, you know, Reddit, so many outlets that you can put this content on and it don't cost you nothing. So just don't underestimate the power of your social media. Um, and that's the main thing I would say to them, man. Just keep going, keep doing your thing. You know, find somebody that you could work with that has a studio, or build your own studio, you know, do it yourself, DIY, and learn. I learned how to like mix and master. I learned how to record myself. I learned how to use, you know what I mean, a Pro Tools and a bunch of other tools, you know, because it's like I got tired of just going to the studio every single day. I'm like, nah, this is not cost effective. It's gonna be cheaper if I just, you know, watch some YouTube videos on how to do this myself, and just, you know, practice and test it out yourself, you know. So believe in yourself. All the artists out there, believe in yourself. Stay focused, and remember, you got somebody, you know what I'm saying, like myself, Scar City. that's here to help with questions and that's here to help with direction. So with that, I say peace, love, and light, brother.
Sir, bro, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Big facts, brother. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Definitely.
Peace.
Peace.